Fáilte Ruairc Ireland AM. Now, they're the moments every parent dreads when their lovely little child turns instantly from an angel from heaven to a demon from hell.
Yes, terrible tantrums are as normal as a part of growing up as giggles and pooey nappies. Parent coach Aoife Lee is here with advice on how best to handle them. Good to see you again, Aoife.
Morning.
Okay,
Good morning.
it's the age-old thing. Try and spot the triggers.
Yes, we've all been there, done that. Anyone with a busy child that likes their own way and can get easily frustrated, it is a very natural and normal part of their development. And they can prolong, and we can go into the later years, but this morning we're talking about tantrums. And the important beginning of it all, to get our heads around it, is recognising the triggers, like you said.
How?
And typically, even from 18 months, we start to see a lot of independence and a lot of strong will, smallies. And it's really important that we consider, obviously, the obvious ones like hunger and tiredness. That frustration bit of not knowing how to express themselves, and it comes out in that behaviour. There might be something going on. So it's looking at the bigger picture. Sometimes there's no reason whatsoever and they're just having a bad day like any of us. And what's key is that, and something that sometimes we might forget, is they really rely on us to be their calm. Because when they're in the height of it, they really can struggle. When we tell them to calm down, if anything, it might escalate them even more.
Do the same to me as well. If someone tells me to calm down, I'm in the midst of it. But can we sometimes head them off at the pass? Like, is there any preventative way to avoid tantrums, seeing little signs that they're about to start kicking off?
Look, everyone listening in and looking this morning will know their own child best, and you'll know when they maybe are struggling at certain times of the day. So whether it be distraction, again, the understanding that when things do kick off, knowing that no matter what you say in the moment, they're struggling with trying to make logic and be, in the moment of trying to deal with it. So first point would be to name it to tame it. So naming the emotion. So if they're really angry and really upset and you're starting to see it all unravel, name the big emotion, because for our kids, they can really struggle, and it can be actually quite scary for them when they're really, really upset. I mean, we've had kids where they're holding their breath until their face goes blue, the kicking, the screaming, banging heads off doors, and that can be quite scary for the adults, and sometimes they feel at a loss of what to do. So when we name that big emotion, while it mightn't change everything all of a sudden, it tends to help things just kind of simmer down somewhat. It can sometimes diffuse a situation, but it's also ultimately letting our kids know that we hear you, we see you, and like any of us, if we're having a bad day and even another adult said, God, you're not feeling great, I can totally get it, you feel like you're being validated, and that can be a big part, a big starting point for our younger kids.
Okay, does your tone of voice really matter in these circumstances?
Yeah.
Because sometimes if the child is up here, a parent might feel, well, I need to get up there just so that I can be heard. Yeah,
so reflecting our kids' emotions, if we are given as good as we're getting, then that is only going to feed in.
Okay, so
and look, I'm a mum myself to 3 kids. I've got my eldest is a teenager now. We've all been through it. It's just about being the parent in the moment, and the calmer the adult is, the more influential and it will be for the child as well.
Is there a medical term for when they lose it? Like, what's going on inside their bodies when that happens?
Yeah, well, it's what we call kind of dysregulation. Okay. So like any of us, from toddlers right the way up to old age, we will all have stress moments. We'll all have moments where we have a flip or a moment. And that's essentially where we go into this mode of survival, fight or flight. And when our kids when those lids flip and those emotions spark, that's often when we get into the who, why, what, where. We're trying to negotiate, we're trying to cajole, we're trying to reason. And when our kids dysregulate, they can really struggle with anything, and that's where they might push us away and they don't want to know, but at the same time they're looking for us to come back in, and we're at a bit of a loss. So we need to help them self-calm, because like that reason and logic is absolutely nowhere near where we're at in that moment. So it's what we do after that can again make a significant impact.
Okay, with toddlers, like they could be hungry, they need a change, they're feeling hot, whatever it might be. But what do you do when the child's having a tantrum and doesn't know?
Doesn't know, yeah.
Why he or she is doing that.
Because often we say, what's wrong? What's the matter? Or we might know, and we are being triggered as well, which is really important. So whether we need to take a step back and actually take some breaths, coming in and trying to get the logic, like I've said before, it's not going to get us anywhere. So it's ultimately trying to calm the situation. And that might mean coming in for, offering a hug or a little bit of gentle touch, or again, just be present, but avoid insisting that they go on a timeout or the bottom of the stairs or the naughty step, wherever I just personally and professionally with my families, I don't recommend timeout.
So even if the child is saying, go away, Mom, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to talk to Dad, give them that space, but remain within vision.
Try and be available, because sometimes you might think, oh God, we can't win or we can't lose in this. It is letting your child know that you're there, but you let me know when you're ready. If you've tried everything to calm the situation down and nothing seems to work, that's where we feel sometimes disempowered. So it's taking that step back, letting them know that you're available, and then come back in every kind of, whether it be every minute or every minute and a half, and check in. And you'll find over time what seems to work for them. But again, they're really relying on us to help them calm. They're not going to be able to do it by themselves.
Yeah. And how about we're kind of talking about tantrums here, as if they're happening at home, we can send them to a corner. What if this happens in public? I often see parents, and I really try to give them, I've no kids myself, but I try to give them a sympathetic look and be like, it's okay, it happens to everyone. What happens if your child has a meltdown in public?
There is nothing like the sheer panic and frustration, and for some they feel embarrassed, and what does everyone else think? Number one, I would say to anybody that is experiencing it, or they're maybe heading to the shops today and they're already anticipating it, do not feed into the behaviours of those around them. Now, like yourself, you're being kind and giving that kind of look of, I feel for you. But some people can't help but, either want to kind of step in. But what I would say is ignore those around you. We've all been there. And then if you've got your trolley packed in the supermarket, you're queuing in an aisle, all I would say is park up, take your child out of the shop, maybe say to the sales assistant, look, I'm just leaving that as is for now, I have something more important to be dealing with, and leave the shop and go to a space, if you can, where it's that little bit calmer and quieter. And I know it's tough if you're in the middle of a supermarket or a shopping centre, but find a space where it allows your child just to have a moment of containment, really, and that they're in a safe space with you and not in the busyness and the stimulation of this massive, hot, busy supermarket, which can be the big trigger,
Yeah. If doing the shopping, if you turn it into an event, is that a help? So that they're prepared.
I'm all for the bringing food with you. Or, when it comes, if they've eaten that carton of blueberries or eaten that kind of scone in the bag, produce it at the checkouts. In fairness to most supermarkets, if it means that there's a distraction. And just look at being practical. Do I need to bring my child to the supermarket? If it's a Friday at 6 o'clock in the evening, everyone's going to be exhausted. So
yeah. Okay. So it's being smart about these things. Thank you so much.
Stay calm.
Yes.
Lots of hugs.
And no timeouts.
And no timeouts.
Yes.
Not a good idea.
Aoife, thank you so much for being chatting to us.
Thank you.
If you need any more information from Aoife on tantrums or other child-related conundrums, you can, of course, go to parentsupport.ie.
Now, up next, we have 2 furry surprises just for you. We'll see you in a mo.